Welcome to Beholder Beauty, where we talk about beauty, faith, and some of the difficult things in life. And today my guest is a lovely friend, an author and podcaster, Tammy Kennington. And Tammy is a lover of tea and time with the Lord. And she is an award-winning author, mental health coach, educator at Hope Restored. And she has a podcast, Choose. Why don't I introduce you and you tell me a little bit about that. So here is Tammy Kennington.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here with you. And my podcast is called From Hardship to Hope. It's a podcast that deals with life at the intersection of motherhood, mental health, and matters of faith.
Wonderful. And you're doing a series right now, right?
I am, and we're really considering the life of Esther and what women like her look like today as they live out their own lives and in this culture, in all the struggles. And it's just been a really fun opportunity. So I'm looking forward to sharing that episode with you.
Fantastic. Okay, before we start going more into about you, well, this is about you too. Do you have a favorite lipstick or beauty tip for us?
Ooh, I do. I love lipstick. I have lipstick collections, but I think my favorite beauty tip is as we age, we need something that doesn't settle into all those little fine lines as much. And so I've started using Laura Geller, which is a really great light foundation. It's very natural and it seems to last all day. So that's my new favorite.
Oh, it looks very pretty. And so we were talking a little bit about our outside beauty, which kind of brings us to, have you ever struggled with your beauty or your appearance or how you look? And how did God meet you with those struggles?
I absolutely have struggled with that. For most of my life, actually, that was a huge struggle. From the time I was little, I always felt as though I was less than my sibling. And I adored him, but there was a lot of praise for his very fair blonde hair and his light blue eyes. And so I really did not feel as though that I had any sort of beauty to offer in this world. And that was coupled with childhood abuse. So there was a lot mixed in with that. Over time, I would say once I got to college, I began to realize there were boys who were interested in me. And I would like to think there was more to it than just something surface. I'd like it to be something about maybe intellectual interest as well. But I think that was probably a turning point for me.
Mhm. And how does it help you now? Like if you start feeling any of those old feelings, do you reframe it to like back to what God says about you? Tell us what that looks like for you.
Yes, I definitely do. I mean, there are always times I think as women we struggle, whether it's because we've gained a few pounds or we're just feeling tired and worn out. But I do try to reframe it from my perspective of I know I'm God's child. And I love the verse that talks about how our beauty is fleeting. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting.
Proverbs pretty well, right?
Yes, I love that. And I think that's really helpful too, because we do live in a culture where women are supposed to always look young and youthful, and none of us can hold on to those sorts of things. It's just not possible. So we can have an unfading beauty in Him, and an unfading beauty, I think, of being lit up by Christ from the inside.
Oh, that is so beautiful and so true. And that is, I think whenever we do struggle with that, because we are human beings and we're in these bodies and they are perishable. But as Christians, we too know that one day we will receive imperishable bodies and beauty that lasts forever. And so I think that those promises we can hold on to and then see them here too, see them here like even in aging, or if we're not happy with how we look for a moment, we can find that beauty in realizing that promise and experience that right here on earth right now. Like we don't have to wait till later to experience God's presence and his promise and his peace right now.
Oh, I so agree with that. I think he's with us. He's with us now and he's with us forever. So we can absolutely hold on to that.
Yes. And so now I love all the ways that God is shining his light through you, through your podcast, through your writing and your coaching, your teaching. And I think that like when I was reading over all that you do, it just showed me all the different gifts that God has given to you and that how that can help other women see maybe the gifts that he's given them too.
Mm. That's really my prayer because I think sometimes as women, we get wrapped up in one kind of role or another kind of role, and we're really multifaceted. Jesus created us to pour into the lives of others when we're filled up on Him.
That makes me feel better. 'Cause sometimes I wonder, why do I have all these different interests and activities? And that makes complete sense right there. Let's talk about your mental health coaching.
Yeah. So I have a real heart for women who struggle with mental health. And that really is rooted in my own experience. I mentioned childhood, those childhood struggles. And as a result of experiencing that abuse as a child, I lived with and continued to live with some generalized anxiety. I had developed PTSD. And then, I've had seasons of life where I've had functioning depression, where I can get up and walk through life and do all the things, but really deep down there was something else going on. So after having healed from all of that, I just have a heart for women who are in those hard kinds of places and just want them to be able to find somebody who's who understands their story, who's non-judgmental, who can share Jesus and whatever when they're comfortable. I'll be happy to pray for them. And I actually also do some inner healing prayer work and have some upcoming additional training on that. So I just I think there's so much need in our world and it seems like it's just that need is continuing to grow.
Yeah. So on that, because we didn't really talk a little bit about your background so much, and you've kind of dipped into that a little bit. Is there more that you would like to tell us in that so we can kind of get a whole picture of kind of what led you into this?
Yeah, sure. So the Lord is so good. He has done amazing and miraculous things in my life. So when you're someone who has complex post-traumatic stress disorder, you typically struggle with having basically it's like you are one person in little parts, like a puzzle. And he was able to little by little heal those parts, put me all back together as one whole functioning person. And it was an incredible healing. And then not only did he do that, but as a result of trauma, I also developed fibromyalgia and scleroderma. I was quite sick and had to quit work and was trying to parent through all of that. But a few years ago, I went to a service where there was people were laying on hands and praying for one another, and God healed me miraculously. So I know how desperate we can feel when we're in those dark valleys, but I want to point people to something and someone who can take all of that. And whether he does in this life or not, we know he will at some point.
And he'll give you, if it's not a complete healing, he'll give you the strength and the peace and the comfort to be able to deal with it. And that's, I think, so important there too, to know that. That
Yes. Absolutely. I know when I was lying in bed and I spent hours in prayer. It was actually an incredible faith-building time when I was so sick because I had so much time to pray and spend in scripture. And I remember just saying, "Lord, you may not heal this. I'm gonna be okay with that because I've got you." And, oh, I just kind of feel like he's stirring in my heart right now. And I feel like we really whatever the world hands to us, we can no matter what it is, he will give us what we need.
So, for somebody who's in that dark valley right now, and is there something that you would like to say to them?
I would just say, don't let the enemy steal your hope and your joy because our life is like a little dot on a timeline. Our pastor was actually talking about this last week and he said your life is like a little dot, but when you consider the length of eternity and that timeline continues on forever, this is just a moment and the rest of it is going to be incredible. So I think if we have that eternal perspective, it can really help us in our moments when we're struggling.
And are there a couple of verses that you would like to give out that they can claim right now? Like there's somebody listening who's struggling with that. Maybe they know the Lord is there for them, but that hope is kind of, they're trying to hold on to that hope.
Yes, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope. I've hung on to that verse since I was a teenager. And it is such an incredible verse. It's given me strength throughout my life.
It is a beautiful verse. I love that one too. And that's, I think, too, and the to memorize scripture so that when we're going through these hard times, the Holy Spirit will bring them right into our minds. Like he did earlier with the Proverbs 31 woman, brought that right in so that it could show us the scripture, his word, and where he's at in all this, that he's part of all of it. And that's so important, I think, for us to remember. And so as we're talking about your childhood, let's address surviving childhood abuse.
Absolutely. 1 in 4 women, if the statistics are correct, I think they're probably underreported, but 1 in 4 women will be a survivor of abuse at some point in her life. So this is something that touches women's lives from the time they're little children up through adulthood. And the statistics are staggering, but we have a God who moves beyond statistics. And just because if we've had a background where we've been victimized by someone due to child abuse, maybe sexual assault, it, domestic violence, none of those things determine who we are. They don't define us. God is the one who defines us. And he says that we are children of God, that we are the apple of his eye, and we are his daughters.
Mm. That is so comforting. It really is. And I mean, I myself come from, you know, because I'm a survivor. It took me so long to be able to say that, That's so, I think that's part of it too. That sort of denial, or not even denial, but just not wanting to admit it. And then can become a monster in that sense if you don't. And then once you do, you're like, oh, well, then give it to Jesus, then that monster's gone.
Yes, I'm happy to put that.
In your young adulthood, you had the chronic illness.
It was actually not that long ago. It was, I think, well, about 7 years ago, it became too much to manage from a physical standpoint. So I was in my late 30s, early 40s.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was quite a struggle with
And that's when you got healing from.
yes, that's what I received healing from. I
Mhm.
feel I may be the only woman who smiles happily while she's at the gym.
You're like, I'm strong. And so now with your writing, how did that come in all of this?
Mm. I've actually been writing since I was a second grader, and I fell in love with it. It really was an expression of pain originally for me. It was something I wrote about through poems, and I knew I'd always wanted to be a professional writer. That started coming true about 12 years ago, and I really began to pursue it. But I believe that when we're wounded healers, we can help others. And when we allow God to work through that pain, I feel as though not only can we help someone else walk through their hard journey, but it's like I'm refusing to give the enemy the victory in my life.
Mhm. Yes, and the helping another go through, come through too, helps reinforce that each time. It's
Yeah.
another victory, another victory, another victory.
Oh,
Because
it's
no one should live in the false hope that there is no help. And going through what you've gone through and then coming through it, you're a witness, your proof, and your God's faithfulness. It's a beautiful thing. But with your writing, you don't only do nonfiction.
It's true. I'm one of those people who can't make up her mind, and I do write for children as well.
Okay.
Currently, I have an agent who's sharing a couple of manuscripts. One is a book about Easter, it's the first Easter, and the other is the first Christmas. So we'll see what happens with those. I love writing for children. My background is as an educator. I've been teaching for 26 years. So I love children. And then I'm working on a manuscript that's a romantic suspense novel for Christian readers.
I love that. I think that was back to the many gifts that God has given you. And he's seen you be faithful in all those different areas. And so he's blessing you with them. And then it just, I think as a writer, makes it interesting. Like it one feeds the other. Like I think when if you're working on your children's book, you can same time be thinking how that's would work in your suspense book.
Yes,
And
that's
what
so
about
true.
what about a nonfiction book though? Have you
So nonfiction, I have a couple of book proposals that I've been pitching for quite a while, and the book is really quite done, but it is for survivors of of abuse and or domestic violence. I'm not a domestic violence survivor, but I witnessed it in my home as a child. And there's a lot of connection for women. And then the other is a book of prayers for parents whose children struggle with mental health.
all those are just wonderful resources and all the projects that you're writing. But then at the same time, did I read correctly that you're working a full-time job?
I am. It's
Like,
been a little challenging.
and that's with being an educator.
That's right. Yes, I'm a reading specialist, so I remediate students with dyslexia, and employed at a wonderful school just for kids who have dyslexia. It's really been a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness. I could see you writing a book for that too. Children's book. I just received this book, the
Oh,
Clear Focus Bible, which is not for dyslexia, but it's for to help people focus better. And they have it for children too, but it uses this method that Swiss scientists,
oh
uh,
my
I
goodness.
think you really see it, but it kind of uses a biometric method to kind of like, so the parts of the word will be bold and sentences to kind of catch the eye to follow along. But it's just interesting to see how the message of what we're writing can be geared towards the different readers that may come along that need to read them.
It really is amazing, actually. I might have to look into that.
Yeah, yeah, I think that would be a really wonderful thing. As a writer, is there any, because a lot of writers do listen to the podcast. Are there any writing tips that you would like and to share with us? And I think on the lines of, well, it can be any of them. It could be with how we go through a healing with God, and then how we use that to teach others, or it could be writing children's books. I mean, I think that is just an amazing calling too.
I actually leave a lot of my nonfiction things into the romantic suspense novels that I'm working on. So one of the gals, one of my main characters in one of those books is not a survivor, but she runs a nonprofit for women who were trafficked.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That way people can relate to it. Sometimes fiction is sometimes a way to approach subjects that might be too scary in real life.
it really is, and it's really very enjoyable. It's I love nonfiction, and I finally decided to segue into fiction because I include a lot of story in my nonfiction writing, and I just found that I love it. So one of the ways that I've been adapting my writing lately is to dictate, and I've been often just taking a walk, although it's getting cold now here in Colorado, but I've been taking a walk and dictating into my phone, and it's horrible. I would never share it with anybody, but because there are pauses and I'm thinking and all those kinds of things, but it's been a really great way for me to kind of tap that creativity. And I think there's a strong possibility I'll continue to do that.
Kind of like I do that some too, like it helps with brainstorming.
Yes.
Especially because then you're out on your walk, you say, okay, God, what do you want me to talk about? What's going on? What is this? And then start just kind of downloading and when you're moving, because somebody was folding towels and they're like, why do I get these great ideas while I'm folding towels? And well, that probably frees up your brain in a sense. Like you're no longer thinking, you're doing a rote activity, something else, and then that can free up the mind to
Yeah.
start this kind of, I guess, dreaming in a sense. It's a form of daydreaming, but you're working on your project.
Yes. Really love that. I can combine it with my prayer walks. And I really like to actually precede that time with either my quiet time or with a prayer walk, just because I want to give my writing time to the Lord and invite Him into that because it's all about Him.
Yes, it is. Let's talk about your podcast and the theme about Esther. And why did you pick that theme? And how does that relate to where you at in your life right now?
Mm. I had really been praying about what theme He wanted me to introduce next as part of the podcast. And with everything happening in the world, I felt like for such a time as this was a really meaningful theme that a lot of people could connect with. And we see in Esther's life this young woman who's thrust into the limelight, but really it's not a romance. She's been kidnapped, she's been captured, she's trafficked. And and yet God works mightily through her life because of her obedience. So I just felt like with all of the all of the sorts of things we're seeing happening in culture, that women who might feel unseen or unheard, like Esther might have felt at times, or women who were relying on other people to be advisors, like Mordecai was, that in some way we can all see ourselves in Esther's life.
Yes. And so what else is coming up for Tammy?
The writing side of things, I have actually just submitted an application for a summer internship with Penguin Random House. So I'm hoping that'll turn out. We'll see.
Oh, that's nice. What would you be doing? Like an editing or a...
I actually applied to a couple. One is for working with children's books. And that was, I believe that one was editing, and another was marketing.
Do you feel you're maybe being called into the publisher side?
I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what God does. I
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see.
That's so I will be praying for you. That is so exciting. You there's a lot going on with what you're doing, and you're showing up, you're being faithful, you have so much to offer. And I just it's gonna be amazing to watch how God starts, you know, all this coming out for different people at different times at such a time as this. So it's really joyful to watch.
Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah. And where can our listeners find you? Like, where's the best place? I know you and we've known each other on Facebook, on Instagram, and now on Substack. But where do you like people to find you?
The best to find me online, at least with the podcast, is through Apple at From Hardship to Hope. And then writing, you can connect with me on Substack. I'm writing about once a month, emailing all of my subscribers because right now life is incredibly full. I had been doing once a week, but I'm finding that a little bit too challenging at the moment. So, but I would love to connect with people. I love to pray for people. And feel free, if you're listening and you want someone to pray for you, you can reach out to tammy.kennington@gmail.com.
Yes, and get on her mailing list. We'll have that in the show notes. And just start following Tammy and seeing all that she offers. She offers so much. And even she goes through seasons where right now she's only doing once a month, but then she'll have every other week, and she'll have challenges, and she has her podcast, and she has her writing, and she'll pray for you. So thank you so much, Tammy, for coming on Beholder Beauty podcast.
So good to see you face to face, Deborah. Thanks for having me.